The 2000s didn't revive muscle cars. They weaponized them. This era delivered wild horsepower, violent torque, and chassis setups that punished hesitation. These machines didn't come to play. They came to intimidate. Buckle up. You're about to meet the most dangerous muscle cars ever unleashed on public roads. 12. 2003 to 2004 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra Terminator. The Terminator Cobra wasn't just fast, it was unpredictably fast, and that's what earned it a spot among the most dangerous muscle cars of the 2000s. Ford dropped a factory supercharger onto a Mustang that already had a reputation for tail-happy behavior, instantly creating a machine that could overwhelm its own chassis. The power delivery was explosive. A slightly aggressive throttle input could break traction instantly, making the rear end a step out with little warning. Although it introduced an independent rear suspension, the setup suffered from severe wheel hop and abrupt oversteer when pushed hard, especially during launches or quick lane changes. The brakes and suspension upgrades helped, but they weren't fully prepared for the sudden torque loads this car produced. Inside, the Cobra was still pure old-school Mustang, raw, mechanical, and lacking modern stability systems. With a curb weight of around 3,494 pounds, the Terminator carried enough mass to make sudden weight transfer a serious threat whenever the driver pushed it hard. With minimal electronic intervention and a chassis that demanded constant attention, the Terminator rewarded confident drivers but punished anyone who misjudged it. Under the hood sat a 4.6-liter DOHC-V8 with an Eaton M112 supercharger. Officially rated at 390 horsepower and 390 pound-feet of torque, though real numbers were often higher. It hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.5 seconds and topped out at a governed 155 miles per hour, a limit easily bypassed with routine mods. The Terminator became famous for how effortlessly it accepted upgrades, and tuning routinely pushed power above 500 horsepower, making an already intimidating car even more unstable. One cold set of tires, one wet road, or one overly confident driver was all it took for this Mustang to show its darker side. The Terminator didn't just demand respect, it forced it. 11. 2008 to 2009 Dodge Challenger SRT10. The return of the Challenger SRT10 brought back the look and attitude of classic American muscle, but it also delivered a level of danger that many drivers didn't expect. Its massive size and heavy frame gave it incredible road presence, yet made it surprisingly difficult to manage when pushed beyond straight-line cruising. The suspension struggled to control the car's weight during aggressive cornering, leading to noticeable body roll and delayed steering response. On uneven roads or tight turns, the rear end could step out faster than inexperienced drivers could react. Its brakes were strong, but they worked hard to tame such a heavy machine, especially during high-speed stops. Inside, the Challenger offered comfort and nostalgia, but it didn't come with the advanced traction management systems that later models relied on, meaning the driver was mostly on their own. Weighing roughly 4,144 pounds, the Challenger's massive body made high-speed direction changes feel delayed and dangerously unpredictable. Under the hood, the SRT10 packed a 6.1-liter Hemi V8, producing 425 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, launching the car from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.8 seconds with a top speed of around 174 miles per hour. Its straight-line acceleration was brutal for a vehicle of its size, and that raw power often encouraged drivers to push harder than the chassis could safely handle. Cold tires, wet pavement, or sudden throttle input could quickly turn this heavyweight into a handful. Many owners learned that the SRT10's old-school muscle attitude came with old-school consequences. Massive power, limited driver aids, and a tendency to bite back when handled without care. It wasn't just a modern classic, it was a modern reminder of how dangerous big horsepower can be in the wrong moment. If these first two beasts have already grabbed your attention, smash that like button. It tells me you're ready for even wilder machines. 10. 2006 to 2007 Chevrolet Trailblazer SS Corvette V8. The Trailblazer SS was one of those wild ideas that sounded exciting on paper, but the result was a machine that could surprise, overwhelm, and intimidate even skilled drivers. Its tall stance and truck-based platform weren't designed for the kind of violent acceleration this engine delivered, and the suspension, although stiffened, still struggled to control body movement in tight corners or sudden lane changes. Braking was strong but constantly tested, especially during repeated high-speed stops where the heavy SUV could feel unstable. Inside, the cabin felt like a typical mid-2000 GM interior, functional but not performance-focused. And without modern traction systems or advanced stability control, the driver had limited help when the SS decided to get unruly. Tipping the scales at about 4,585 pounds, this SUV's sheer mass turned aggressive maneuvers into a risky gamble the chassis wasn't always ready to handle. Power came from the legendary 6-liter LS2 V8, the same heart found in the C6 Corvette, producing 395 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. Despite its size, the SS could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.5 seconds and reach a top speed of roughly 150 miles per hour, numbers shocking for a family SUV of its era. The combination of brutal straight-line speed and truck-like handling made it one of the most unpredictable performance vehicles of the decade. A little too much throttle in a corner, a wet road, or a late steering correction could quickly turn excitement into chaos. The Trailblazer SS was proof that giving muscle car power to an SUV can be thrilling and dangerously unforgiving. 9. 2005 to 2006 Pontiac GTO. Some cars hide their danger behind loud styling, but the Pontiac GTO was the opposite. It looked calm, almost understated, yet the moment you pushed it, this quiet coupe revealed a violent personality. The GTO's clean, simple exterior often misled drivers into thinking it was a relaxed cruiser, but its chassis struggled to contain the surge of power coming from the LS engines. The brakes were strong, but constantly challenged by the car's weight and the aggressive driving style its engine encouraged. Inside, the GTO offered comfortable seats and a mature layout, but it lacked advanced stability controls, meaning the driver had little electronic help when things went wrong. At roughly 3,725 pounds, the GTO had just enough weight to overwhelm its suspension during spirited driving, especially when the torque hit suddenly. The GTO looked tame, but in reality, it was a sleeper with teeth. Depending on the year, the GTO carried a 6-liter LS2 V8, delivering 400 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. With this power, it could sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in as quick as 4.7 seconds and reach a top speed of around 175 miles per hour. For a car that looked this subtle, those numbers shocked many drivers, especially the ones who pushed it without understanding its limits. The GTO was a muscle car wrapped in a gentleman's suit, and that disguise made it even more dangerous. Its calm appearance invited confidence, but its raw power and imperfect handling punished anyone who underestimated it. A true wolf in sheep's clothing, and one of the most deceptively risky cars of the 2000s. 8. 2008 to 2009 Pontiac G8 GT. Some cars hide their danger behind luxury, and the Pontiac G8 GT was one of the sneakiest offenders of the 2000s. It looked like a comfortable, roomy sedan, the kind of car you'd expect to see picking up kids from school. But the moment you pressed the throttle, it transformed into a muscle machine that many drivers simply weren't prepared for. The brakes were strong, but constantly challenged by the GT's momentum during high-speed stops. Inside, the GT felt refined and confidence-inspiring, but that confidence was exactly what made it dangerous. Drivers forgot they were in a 360 horsepower muscle sedan with minimal electronic intervention compared to modern standards. Coming in at around 4,012 pounds, the G8 GT's heavy sedan body made quick corrections difficult, adding an extra layer of danger when its power came alive. It was a car that lulled you into comfort before reminding you brutally that it was not built to be taken lightly. Powering the Pontiac G8 GT was a 6-liter V8, producing 361 horsepower and 385 pound-feet of torque, allowing it to sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.3 seconds and reach a top speed of about 137 miles per hour. While not the fastest car on this list, the danger came from how deceptively easy it was to underestimate. The GT delivered its power smoothly, encouraging spirited driving, but its size and weight made quick corrections difficult when things went wrong. A sudden throttle jab, a wet road, or an unexpected corner could turn this comfortable sedan into a handful instantly. The G8 GT earned its reputation by proving that even a family car can be dangerously unpredictable when infused with true muscle car power. 7. 2004 to 2006 Dodge Ram SRT10. Some vehicles look dangerous at first glance, and the Ram SRT10 absolutely lived up to that promise. Imagine taking the monstrous V10 from a Dodge Viper and dropping it into a full-size pickup truck. The result was one of the most unhinged performance machines of the 2000s. The suspension, heavily upgraded for performance, still struggled to keep the truck planted during sharp turns, causing body roll and late-weight transfer that could catch drivers off guard. Even with beefy brakes, slowing down a vehicle this heavy at high speeds pushed the limits of stability. Inside, it had the familiar comfort of a Ram pickup, which often misled drivers into forgetting they were piloting a 500 horsepower monster. With a monstrous curb weight of nearly 4,916 pounds, the SRT10 demanded absolute respect, as its mass could easily overpower the suspension during sudden moves. The SRT10 wasn't designed to be subtle, it was designed to be outrageous, and that outrageousness made it dangerously unpredictable when pushed. Under the hood roared an enormous 8.3-liter V10, producing 500 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque, enough to launch this truck from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.9 seconds and reach a top speed of about 154 miles per hour. These numbers were astonishing for a vehicle of its size and weight, and many drivers found themselves overwhelmed by how violently the SRT10 delivered its power. A small mistake, too much throttle, a tight corner, or a slight steering correction at speed could send the truck into chaos. The Ram SRT10 proved that raw muscle in the wrong body can be both exciting and extremely dangerous, earning its place as one of the wildest machines of the 2000s. 6. 2005 to 2009 Ford Mustang GT. Some cars look friendly enough to fool new drivers, and the mid-2000s Mustang GT was exactly that kind of trap. It had the retro charm, the approachable design, and the everyday usability that made people believe it was a simple, harmless muscle coupe. But once the road opened up, the GT revealed a dangerous side rooted in old-school handling and explosive throttle response. The brakes were decent for casual driving, but struggled during repeated hard stops, especially when the car was pushed beyond its comfort zone. Inside, the Mustang GT felt fun and familiar, giving drivers a false sense of confidence that often encouraged them to push harder than the chassis could realistically handle. It was exactly this combination, an inviting look paired with unforgiving behavior. Weighing close to 3,439 pounds, the Mustang GT carried enough mass to amplify every snap of oversteer and every mistake the driver made. Under the hood was a 4.6-liter V8 producing 300 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque, sending the GT from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.1 seconds with a top speed of about 149 miles per hour. These numbers weren't extreme by modern standards, but the way the power arrived, sudden, loud, and eager to spin the rear tires, made the GT feel far wilder than the specs suggested. Countless crashes were blamed on overconfidence, a stomp of the throttle leaving a meet, a misjudged corner on a back road, or a quick lane change on a bumpy highway. The Mustang GT wasn't the most powerful car of its decade, but the gap between how easy it looked to drive and how difficult it actually was made it one of the most dangerously deceptive. Halfway through the list, which one shocked you the most? Drop your pick in the comments. I'm reading every reply. 5. 2003 to 2006 Chevrolet SSR. Some vehicles are dangerous because they chase speed, but the Chevrolet SSR was dangerous because it convinced drivers it wasn't a performance machine at all. With its cartoonish retro styling, folding hardtop, and playful cruiser identity, the SSR looked like a harmless novelty. Yet underneath that flashy exterior was a heavy truck-based chassis that simply could not keep up with the torque being pushed through it. Sharp corners produced noticeable body roll, delayed steering response, and sudden rear-end instability when the torque kicked in unexpectedly. Even with upgraded brakes, stopping a vehicle this heavy at high speed took more room than most drivers anticipated. Inside, the truck felt relaxed and comfortable, giving a false sense of security that vanished the moment the SSR was driven aggressively. At about 4,695 pounds, the SSR was far heavier than its playful design suggested, making emergency maneuvers feel slow and dangerously unstable. Under the hood of the later models sat a 6-liter V8 producing 390 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque, enough to send this chunky cruiser from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.5 seconds with a top speed of about 125 miles per hour. Those numbers were shocking for a vehicle that looked like a retro toy, and the mismatch between its acceleration and its sloppy handling balance made it unpredictable in the hands of enthusiastic drivers. A quick throttle jab on a curve, a mid-corner bump, or overconfidence at highway speeds could turn the SSR into a dangerous handful instantly. Wait till you see the next few, the danger only gets bigger. 4. 2004 to 2006 Chrysler 300C SRT8. Some cars carry danger in their sound, their style, or their attitude, but the Chrysler 300C SRT8 carried it in its confidence. This big, imposing sedan looked like a luxury cruiser meant for quiet highway rides. Yet underneath the sharp suits and chrome details was a muscle car with far more power than its chassis was truly ready for. The brakes were large and powerful, but constantly challenged by the sedan's mass, particularly during repeated high-speed stops. Inside, the 300C felt refined and comfortable, which only encouraged drivers to push it like a sports sedan, even though its handling balance belonged firmly in the old-school muscle category. With a curb weight of around 4,221 pounds, the 300C SRT8 pushed its suspension and brakes to the limit every time the driver went aggressive. Under its hood sat a 6.1-liter Hemi V8, producing 425 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, giving the big sedan the ability to sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.9 seconds with a top speed of about 167 miles per hour. Those numbers were shocking for a car of this size, and the SRT8 delivered its power with a suddenness that regularly surprised inexperienced drivers. Its combination of brute force, high weight, and limited electronic intervention meant that even small mistakes, a too-fast corner, a jab of throttle on a wet road, or late braking, could turn serious quickly. The 300C SRT8 was proof that luxury and danger can absolutely coexist, and in this case, the danger wore a suit. If this list is blowing your mind so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. The final cars are even more unhinged. 3. 2004 to 2006 Cadillac CTS-V. The first-gen CTS-V earned its danger not through theatrics, but through the shock of what it hid beneath its quiet luxury exterior. Most drivers approached it expecting a smooth executive sedan, only to discover a chassis constantly wrestling with the Corvette heart beating under the hood. Wheel hop plagued hard launches, turning enthusiastic starts into violent shaking, and mid-corner bumps could unsettle the rear end with surprising intensity. Heavy braking exposed its imperfect weight distribution, especially during repeated high-speed stops where the big sedan began to feel nervous. Inside, the CTS-V wrapped drivers in leather and quiet refinement, a setting that tricked many into forgetting just how unforgiving this machine could become when pushed. Weighing roughly 3,792 pounds, the CTS carried enough bulk to make high-speed handling feel tense and unforgiving when pushed past the limit. It wasn't the look of the car that made it dangerous. It was the difference between what drivers expected and what it actually delivered. Powering the CTS-V was a 5.7-liter LS6 V8 producing 400 horsepower and 395 pound-feet of torque, launching it from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 4.6 seconds with a top speed of about 163 miles per hour. The acceleration felt instant and aggressive, often overwhelming the rear tires and catching inexperienced owners off guard. Even seasoned drivers learned quickly that the CTS-V demanded precision. A sloppy throttle input, a late corner entry, or uneven pavement at speed could turn control into chaos in a heartbeat. This car brought true muscle energy into a luxury shell, and that unexpected mix made it one of the most deceptively dangerous sedans of the decade. 2. 2007 to 2009 Dodge Charger SRT8. The Charger SRT8 didn't just make a statement on the road, it dominated it with sheer bulk and brute force, a combination that often proved more than many drivers could handle. The car's wide stance and aggressive presence suggested stability, but its heavy weight and explosive torque created handling quirks that appeared the moment speed increased. The suspension was firm, yet not sharp enough to fully control the mass during high-speed cornering, leading to delayed responses and sudden understeer that could flip to oversteer when the rear finally let go. At nearly 4,299 pounds, the Charger SRT8's heavy frame made sudden maneuvers risky, with momentum working against the driver in tight situations. The interior offered comfort and confidence, maybe too much of it, making drivers feel safer than they actually were. Behind the wheel, it was easy to forget that this was essentially a modern muscle car shaped like a family sedan, and that false sense of security often led to trouble. Under its hood sat a 6.1-liter Hemi V8, generating 425 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, giving the Charger SRT8 the ability to sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5 seconds and reach a top speed of about 165 miles per hour. Those numbers were impressive for a full-size sedan, but they also meant the car could get out of control fast if the driver misjudged even a small maneuver. Sudden throttle inputs, quick lane changes, or unexpected curves exposed the Charger's raw, old-school muscle nature. It had the look of a practical daily car, but beneath that disguise was a heavyweight bruiser capable of overwhelming anyone who didn't respect its limits. 1. 2000 to 2002 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am WS6. If there's one car on this list that truly felt like it was built to test its driver, it's the WS6 Trans Am, a machine that didn't just demand respect, it commanded it the moment you turned the key. This wasn't a car you casually drove. This was a car you survived. The WS6 took the already aggressive Firebird platform and amplified everything. Sharper suspension, stiffer springs, louder attitude, and a personality that could flip from exhilarating to terrifying in a single heartbeat. The WS6's suspension upgraded its performance, but it also made the car brutally honest. If you made a mistake, the Trans Am would show you instantly. Inside, the cockpit wrapped around you like a fighter jet, amplifying the sensation that you weren't just driving, you were strapping into something dangerous. Despite its aggressive styling, the WS6 weighed around 3,417 pounds, and that mass made its twitchy handling even more dangerous at high speeds. This wasn't muscle, this was a missile with a steering wheel. Powering the beast was a 5.7-liter LS1 V8, delivering 325 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, propelling the WS6 from 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5 seconds. And pushing it to a top speed of about 160 miles per hour. But numbers don't tell the real story. The danger came from how violently the WS6 delivered that performance. Every throttle press felt like waking up a sleeping animal, and every mistake felt like poking it. Cold tires? It snapped sideways. Late braking? It punished you. A wet road? Forget it. The WS6 was a final salute to unfiltered American muscle. Raw, loud, unpredictable, and utterly unforgettable. Every one of these machines came from a time when muscle cars weren't built for comfort. They were built to scare you a little. Now it's your turn. Which one would you trust, and which one would you never touch? Tell me below. And if dangerous muscle is your thing, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. The next wild ride is already coming.